Guys, welcome back to another of my videos, and this is basically just preparing for a video that I had to make 2 hours before I had to make the video. So yeah. So we're just going to upload some videos and remove copyright claims from like that video though. So yeah.
It's a good evaluation from a neuro exam standpoint. You're not just checking muscular function, you're also checking sensation.
Is there any of that super tender towards the lower? You've had a pretty significant injury to your neck. Fractured what's called the lamina and broken the C5. You've also disrupted, there's a ligament that's not on this model that runs up and down the front of your spine called the anterior longitudinal ligament.
That's a very severe injury. He essentially broke his neck. The neck is made up of 7 vertebral bodies, C1 to C7. And the higher up on the spinal cord that you have an injury, the more devastating it is. C5, depending on where that injury is, can impact your upper arm muscles, it can impact your ability to speak, like your vocal cords, and make it more difficult for you to breathe. And that's if the injuries of the spinal cord. Right now, all we know is that the injuries of the bone, and specifically it's the posterior portion of the spine known as the lamina. If it was any other part of the spine, it's likely you would have had more symptoms. But when you have the lamina fracture, that actually creates an opening for swelling to happen and actually can mitigate the symptoms. We actually perform what's known as a laminectomy, where we remove that part of the spine to allow less damage to occur for the spinal cord during other back injuries. So the fact that that part broke can allow a situation to happen where he's not sure that this is a devastating neck injury. That's why it's so dangerous.
So there was a major bony and ligamentous injury, and you had 2 small disc herniations, the C5, 6, and C6, 7.
Disc herniations happen as a result of major pressure on the discs. Those are like the little spongy areas in between the vertebrae. Depending on where it herniates, it can create different symptoms. So if it herniates inward, it can actually put pressure on the spinal cord itself, which can be devastating. If it goes outward, inside, it can put pressure on the nerves that exit the spinal cord and have symptoms on only one side versus the other.
The reality of this is these will probably heal, but it's probably going to be 3 months in that collar for it to heal. I don't think surgery right.
That's interesting that you're saying he doesn't need surgery. It must be a very limited fracture, because a lot of times in a situation where the C5 vertebrae are fractured, you do need future surgery to make sure that they're stable. So I don't know the extent of the damage here, but it clearly must be in a reasonable amount that they feel he can just allow the area to heal with the C-collar on, protecting the spine, and then do some rehab work as well. You know, sending my best wishes to speedy recovery to destroying all this, because I can imagine how hard it is for being an athlete, having this happen to you.
By the way, this car that we've been sitting next to this entire time I bought this. The reason I had to buy a brand new car was because the next myth is that you can break a car window with your fist.
Oh, no, don't do this. Not only is someone going to get cut and going to bleed a lot, someone's going to break a bone. That's not even a myth. Like, you're not supposed to do this. Like, there's even specific hammers that people have inside their car to break out in case they're like trapped or they're sinking.
Urbex Hill is one of the most popular urban exploration channels on YouTube, featuring raw footage from YouTuber Chris Hill's visits to a lot of the more extreme abandoned buildings in the US. From abandoned mental hospitals to decommissioned military facilities, Chris explores all of it, but specifically places that a lot of even the more extreme explorers wouldn't visit, at least not at night and alone like Chris always does. In January 2023, he uploaded footage of his visit to the now abandoned Paul Revere Elementary School in Cleveland. After almost a century of use, the school was permanently closed in 2015 due to declining enrollment numbers. Although there are allegedly plans to turn the abandoned building into a housing complex, as of 2024, Paul Revere Elementary is still abandoned and in terrible shape. From the moment Chris walks inside, it's pretty clear that the place hasn't been used in years and has been severely damaged by the elements, vandals, and the passage of time. The bottom floors are all flooded, the walls are peeling, the structure doesn't seem too sound, and there's rust, random papers, books, and all kinds of debris lying everywhere. Throughout the video, you can see messages written in seemingly fresh chalk on some of the whiteboards, confirming that people have been in the building recently. This was actually Chris's second visit to Paul Revere Elementary. When he uploaded footage of his March 2022 visit to the school, several people in the comments mentioned they had either been students or teachers at the school and talked about how incredibly sad it was to see their beloved childhood school ruined by abandonment and lack of maintenance. A little after 10 minutes into the exploration, you can hear some sort of ruffling sounds and other strange noises coming from somewhere in the schoolhouse. As Chris turns a corner in the hallway, another person's flashlight can be seen shining down the hall. It looks to be just one person, who was likely either another urban explorer or a squatter. Still, at 1 a.m. in an abandoned building, it's obviously best to avoid drawing unwanted attention to yourself, especially when you don't know the other person's intentions, which is why Chris ultimately decided to run instead of making his presence known. Making sure to walk in the other direction to avoid running into anyone, he then heads to the library and explores the rest of the top floors. As he goes into the bathroom on the top floor, he has another encounter. At the far end of the bathroom, what appears to be a human silhouette can be seen standing completely motionless. After the initial shock of the encounter, Chris draws his gun and goes back inside to confront the man.
Hello.
SCP has always been a really cool idea to me. A massive, open-ended project in which writers can collaborate to paint a detailed picture of an alternate reality where the impossible becomes possible. And in the beginning, that's exactly what it was. The SCP Foundation website would become the home to thousands of SCPs and stories, anecdotes, and facts, all taking the form of secured documents. While it can best be compared to what creepypasta was years prior, the difference is in how interconnected the world is. Not every SCP is a powerful monster. Some SCPs are barely anomalies. Some even become explained, and are no longer considered anomalies at all. This variety only strengthens the world building. Makes things more believable. I remember every once in a while after doing my schoolwork, I would just browse the wiki, reading about all sorts of interesting scenarios. Public interest only grew when the biggest SCP game, SCP Containment Breach, was released on April 15th, 2012, showing off the more popular characters in an interactive environment in which the player can experience the anomalies firsthand. But much like many other sources of popular horror, both before and after it, SCP hit the mainstream. And since then, it has become slop. And while the slop has mostly continued to remain contained in the form of YouTube videos, some have even managed to breach into reality, polluting the Apple App Store and giving YouTubers like myself something to do today. Breaching into my everyday reality. Reality. Real. Real.
Attention, several entities have breached content and a full suspension of the event. Attention, several entities have breached content and a full suspension of the event. Attention, several content and a full suspension.
The first game I'll be looking at is SCP Site-19. This game seems to be a mobile alternative to SCP Secret Laboratory, a multiplayer SCP game where you can take the role of scientists, guards, D-Class, and SCPs, among others. First things first, after entering my epic username, the UI is almost a bizarro version of Secret Lab, except, as you'd expect, a little lower quality. Then I immediately got an ad, and... what? Are these chickens also anomalies? I don't know how they can lay so many eggs so unnaturally fast. Getting into the actual gameplay, it's about what you'd expect. You can choose a role and begin playing. Something commendable is that there does seem to be actual servers. But sadly, that also means that even the most active servers are empty most of the time. Loading into one, it seems the game is filled with bots, so it at least works to play alone. Spawning in as a D-Class with the goal of escaping, something I've become, too familiar with, I encounter this new statue guy. I'm not entirely sure what this thing is, but what I do know is that it's following me around wherever I go, so I better get away from it. I find a level 5 keycard, but for some reason I can't pick it up. Hopefully that doesn't become a problem later. On my way back, and did this guy just spawn SCP-066 and 999? At this point in time, I was still the naive little soul I once was. And, seeing the chat, assumed people were actually on the server, typing things in. A part of me assumed this might have been an admin or something, spawning stuff in to show me. Therefore, I immediately lost all sense of fear, and even got close to it. I tried to enter heavy containment through a gate, but because the keycard I found was a fake key made of cardboard, I tried to ask my new friend to open the door for me. It didn't work, and he got stuck in a wall. After that, I was going to make a nice painting of him. But then... wait, he was trying to kill me? Wait, no. The painting killed me? Doing some research, I found out that this is SCP-650, a black and not blue statue that strikes menacing poses behind you. I load into another lobby after an ad for fucking Bingo Joy! This time with one real person on, and a Chaos Insurgency guy comes in and murders me. Then I respawn and have this interaction. Well, that was weird. Last try, and this time I'm spawning in as an SCP. But sadly, because of the empty servers, I couldn't really play the game. But I think the funniest part is that the statue man was still following me. This next anomaly formally goes by the name Silent Maze. This SCP is a giant sentient maze, where what appears to be several clones of SCP-096 roam aimlessly to attack anyone daring enough to get close. Reading the description, it writes, "Catch me if you can." I assume it's the maze that's writing this. In this game, you play as a homeless man, stuck in a giant maze made entirely of bricks. This could possibly be a reference to SCP-087-B, a video game loosely based on the SCP world made by the same guy who made Containment Breach. But here, it's more so likely that the brick assets were just available for free. You can only look left and right, so it's clearly taking some Doom inspiration for this one. Immediately, you can see the boy band BTS getting ready to perform. But our main character is a hater! You get the option between throwing a rock, a grenade, or a pipe bomb. Looks like Jimin isn't getting back from this one. Throwing different objects gets a different amount of skinny white men to start chasing you. And that's the game. It's pretty underwhelming. Obviously taking some inspiration from the Endless Runner games of the past, like Temple Run. The camera movement is pretty slow, but nothing is slower than the speed of the SCPs themselves. How can anyone find this menacing? A big factor of 096's original appeal was the horror that, at any moment, you can see his face and know in the back of your mind that somewhere, somehow, a giant, nearly 8-foot-tall creature is now zooming towards you at Mach 5. And there's physically nothing you can do to stop it, short of injecting acid into its spine or throwing it directly into the sun. While here, this is just funny, and the whole thing comes off as very cartoonish. Even in death, I can still escape him. With multiple of them coming after me, they're a little more menacing, but not by much. The next newly declassified anomaly is SCP-096 Escape 3D, Class Heater. Avoid close contact with the anomaly. Faced with direct exposure, anything in close contact will unnaturally break, bend, and transform into voxelized, Minecraft-inspired graphics. Designed for children 9 and up, the exact demographic Minecraft YouTubers want to groom. The secret dungeon of SCP-096 has been opened. No one knows what kind of dangers are hiding, but there is a great secret hidden. I thought he was a monster. Actually getting into the game, this is just blatant false advertising. That dungeon they were talking about is just a straight up lie. Instead, there's a castle that clearly wasn't designed for any character in the game. And what is it with these games solely focusing on 096? I get it's one of the more traditional monsters in the SCP world, and also one of the more popular, but you have to agree there's something funny in the fact that there are so many depictions of a character that kills you if you look at its face. Luckily, artistic variations don't count. First things first, we're definitely not in the Minecraft world. Instead, we're able to just walk around in a relatively open space with some pathways, and oops. Oh my! Good Minecraft gameplay! I need to purchase game plugins with all of my money! Wait, something was down there. I need to go back. I'm Walter White. Okay, no more fooling around. I need to find the great secret inside of the SCP-096 dungeon. I go through a giant skull. Maybe 096 is a dungeon. And hey, let's start with the bad and slowly work our way towards the stuff of nightmares. Number 10, the Rat Dungeon.
If you were alive in London, England during the medieval period, you would have definitely heard about the Rat Dungeon, since this punishment struck paralyzing fear into the hearts of even the most hardened criminals. This was a cell that was located at the bottom of the London Tower, where prisoners were shackled and chained in complete darkness. But here's the thing, the dungeon was connected to the nearby river and just below the river's waterline, so that when the water levels rose, all the rats that lived along the riverbed would be pushed out of their shelters and forced to swim downstream. This would of course lead the hungry and angry rats towards the entrance of the dungeon, where they would then come face to face with the prisoner. But to the unlucky prisoner, he never actually saw anything, and all he would hear were
Oh my god, you would just hear them. You can't move. You're back into the wall and you hear. Oh my god, and they start eating you.
soft scurries of the rat's feet entering the dungeon.
This is the first one.
And in a matter of minutes, these soft noises were in the hundreds and all around.
Oh, I'm killing all of those mother. I ain't letting no rats eat me alive. Unless they change my hands and my feet. But I'd be stomping on them mother. If they got near me, I'd be making noises and I'd scare the fuck out of them.
Man, these angry and aggressive rats would then begin to take small bites from the prisoner, who had no way of
Yo,
defending.
that must hurt so bad. Because that's just a slow death. Rats eating you alive would probably take hours. Or days. Like them just nibbling on you.
Himself. Now, he might be able to shake the rats off for a few hours, but eventually the prisoner would pass out from pure exhaustion. And while he slept, the rats would continue to take bites from his flesh. Eventually, when he would wake up, he would discover hundreds of bites throughout his entire body. But it didn't stop there. The prisoner was left here for days or weeks on end, depending on his crime. But towards the end of the medieval period, this form of punishment just got more and more deranged, eventually becoming a form of execution, where prisoners would just be thrown in the dungeon and forgotten about. Number 9, the rack. This was yet another.
Yeah, I heard of the rack. No, I mentioned that on the other day. There's some of the most painful accidents.
Joshua Smurfett, 12 years old, wanted to experience free fall. He learned what it really meant.
Oh, that is not the kid that I saw. I saw a kid die on Twitter from one of these double shot machines. I think it's probably like that old. And he didn't fit in the thing, so they used a screw to like make the harness clamp. And then like halfway down, like he just fell off.
Boy went on the extreme ride Dropsy and
I
at
was what do you feel that big?
the height of 30 meters, suddenly slipped out of the seat, plummeting,
I don't think he got up.
and burst. Joshua's mother saw her son hit the concrete ride platform with tremendous force. It was a horrific tragedy, but at least he didn't suffer if you believe the pain scale based on scientific research. Falling from a
I mean, yeah, he probably didn't feel shit. He just instantly died.
high leading to instant death scores just 3 points. Meanwhile, the highest mark.
Who knows this story? We watched like a few of these videos now, and every time I'm like, who the f is getting falling near death and frick? And then it's gonna be like, oh, being alive by fire ants, 47. What? Who's coming up with that? I would like to, like, obviously, yes, some things are drastically different on the pain scale. Like, yeah, being lit on fire isn't as bad as like getting shot. Like some things, it's just like being eaten alive by fire ants, or having your nails and your toenails and your fingernails ripped off, and then somebody smacking you in the head with a hammer until you die. Like which one's gonna suck more? I don't know.
So how much pain can a place meant for fun really cause? Your discretion is advised. June 9th.
Be able to hold on, because like I want to go to Six Flags again. I haven't been in forever, but thinking about like that kid that fell off, like if my feet went loose would I be able to just death grip the piss out of that and not die? Because if you stay on the platform, you're not going to die. Because it's going to slowly crash. It's going to slow you down. Like, even if you're not immediately hooked on, you're able to just hold on, you'll slow down. But I feel like it's how high the thing is what matters. It's like which is like the highest, what is it? It's the highest one, but it's on the highest roller coaster. It would literally just be like that hooked up. That you're probably not going to be able to like, stay on. Like a random carnival one, like that's probably not like that.
Around 9 p.m., friends Timothy Bennett and William Hayden were strolling through the park's garden by the fountain pond. It was a hot evening, so Timothy decided to splash his friend with some water. As soon as he touched the water, his body stiffened, and he collapsed in the shallow. Not understanding what happened, William rushed to help his friend, but immediately fell into the water as well. Minutes later, Kings Island in Florida, Daryl Roberts
Was there electricity in the water? What the fuck happened?
noticed the two visitors strangely floating in the pond. As soon as he tried to help them, he stepped
Oh, hell no. Oh my god. I didn't even think that. Like, if your friend was gonna splash you with water and you went, hey, look, and then touch the water and you fell in, I'd probably think you have like a stroke. Like, part of me might just jump in rather than like think, oh, that water has electricity coursing through it.
Jumping into the water, he was struck by a powerful electric shock. It turned out that a cable powering the fountain pumps was damaged, turning the entire pond into a massive electric trap. Timothy Bennett, who fell in first, survived. But Haithcote and Robertson, who rushed to help him, died.
What? Yo, I feel like shit.
Well, that's going to be the end of this YouTube video, and goodbye.